G'day Australia, I am David Campbell and I am here in the film and video archives of the Nine Network. This place is a treasure trove of moving images. Some of the stuff goes back to the beginning of television itself, and under 7 seasons of Burjo's catchphrase, we found these. These film cans contain the only full, complete live recording and audio of the Beatles on their one and only tour of Australia in 1964.
The Shell Company of Australia presents a star-studded hour featuring Australia's brightest stars, top overseas talent, and starring Paul, John, George, and Ringo in Australia on the Beatles Sing for Shell.
It was a major television event in 1964, an event that allowed the whole country to hear and see the Beatles sing some of their biggest songs. This concert performance pops up in top 5 lists of all-time greatest Beatles live concerts ever filmed. But tonight, in a television first. Now check this out. We've taken this rare footage, remastered the pictures and the sound. This has never been done with this footage before.
We've also found a bunch of outtakes and tour footage that's never been seen before. So strap yourselves in, because we're going to take a step back in time. For one night only, live in Australia, the Beatles.
At 7:43 a.m. on June 11, 1964, the Beatles touched down in Sydney. It was
What excites you most about the Beatles?
Oh, gee, that's hard to say. Yes,
What about their hair?
they're lovely.
even back at their hotel, crowds of fans and curious onlookers continued to build, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the 4 lads from Liverpool.
Hundreds of fans have been crowding around the group's hotel today, shouting, "We want the Beatles."
When this Beatlemania thing started, you know, we didn't hear about it because we were away. We just landed in London. Everybody was there smashing the place up. that was good.
Look, fellas, you've had this talent, of course, potential talent some years ago, but in your wildest dreams, did you ever anticipate that you would reach the stage that you have reached now?
No.
Oh yeah, you might be wondering, who the hell is this guy? And what's he done with Ringo Starr? That's Ringo's ring-in, Jimmy Nicol, who was catapulted to global fame when the band's regular drummer went down with tonsillitis and missed some of the earlier Australian shows.
He's much better. He joins them on Sunday.
What do you do then?
I go back to London.
When Ringo finally arrived, thousands of screaming fans turned up at the airport to give him an ear-piercing Aussie welcome.
Well, the Fab Four were in Oz for a grand total of 13 days. But you might be wondering how they came to be in our neck of the woods after they'd just become the biggest band in the world.
Paul, what do you expect to find here in Australia?
Australians.
It's all because of this clever guy, tour promoter Ken Brodziak, who booked the group a year earlier in 1963, just a few months before Beatlemania took over the world. Brodziak got them out here for just £2,500 per week, which is around $5,000. For his money, he got 2 shows a day except Sundays, and Aussie fans fell over themselves to get tickets, with shows selling out in each city in a matter of hours. In total, around 200,000 screaming teens saw the Beatles play 20 gigs in Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney and Brisbane. All up, the tour made an estimated $11 million in ticket sales in today's money.
Are you individually millionaires yet?
No, that's another lousy room. I wish we were.
Brian Epstein a millionaire.
No, even he's not one, poor fellow.
Where does all the money go?
Well, a lot of it goes to Her Majesty.
She's a millionaire.
In 1964, Australia was a very different place. For starters, there was only 11 million of us. We were mostly white, mostly Christian, and mostly conservative. The average person earned around $57 a week, working in a factory. And by average person, I mean average man. Deduct 30% of that for the average woman, who made just $39 a week, which is pretty bloody average. Sticking with dollars, some people were worried we'd lost all our cents. With the recent announcements that we were ditching the pound in favour of decimal currency.
In come the dollars, in come the cents, to replace the pounds and the shillings and the pence.
In the eyes of the world, Australia was still a small country, and so far from everywhere else, it was the last place anyone expected to become the epicentre of the biggest pop culture phenomenon of the 20th century. Everywhere the Beatles went, they were relentlessly followed by a press pack, the likes of which would normally only be seen when the royals were in town. Newspapers, magazines, radio stations and TV networks were tripping over themselves to get a piece.
Oh, you're being funny, are you, eh?
Well,
Funny, yeah.
3 facts. Good evening. Hello, everybody.
Who's first? We are.
Stand up if you want to leave the room.
11/6/64, Beatles, take 2.
But if you wanted access, there were rules that mostly involved drinking.
The first part will be pictures for about 10 minutes, and then the writers, and then there'll be a break while we go out for a drink and you go out for a drink, all separately. And then the boys come back for television, then they go out again for another drink, and then they come back for radio.
Young viewers were so hungry for the Beatles that at one press conference, journos were made to stand behind the band while they asked questions, so the cameras wouldn't have to cut away from the boys.
We've been told not to turn round, you see.
Oh, we love it.
So we got to, it's a bit mad, we got to look this way and talk to him.
Throughout these Q&As, the Fab Four looked fabulously bored. And with some of these questions, it's easy to see why.
Are you interested in sport at all?
No. Are we religious?
No. I think the effect that you have on teenagers is good, healthy effect.
Good, yes.
Do you enjoy sick humour?
Some of it's good, some of it's just stupid.
You're all fairly young to be handling large sums of money. Do you have some sort of financial advice?
Yeah,
we're not.
We're not accountants to look after everything.
And the accountant gives you an allowance each week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Questions about the band's lack of interest in sports and their lack of regularly scheduled haircuts and even their lack of religious beliefs dominated almost every interview they did. It's hardly surprising that Australia wanted to know what made these guys tick. In 1964, 8 of the top 10 selling singles were Beatles tunes. The four boys had seemingly come out of nowhere and changed the music landscape forever.
And don't go anywhere, because in just a few short minutes, you'll be watching the Beatles live at their peak, like you've never seen them before, and all from the comfort of your couch.
Police doing their very best to control them. And there's the first Beatles to land in Victoria. Here they come, and listen to the crowd screaming too. Let's welcome them. And now the crowd is really roaring. They're going mad here now. I don't think I've ever seen this many people.
Once again, it was straight onto the back of a waiting truck.
There they are now, waving to our Channel 9 cameras. Special wave for you, folks. There it is. Special wave from George McCartney and John Lennon. Look at the kids. They're going completely out of their mind.
There were a further 20,000 people waiting for the band outside the Southern Cross Hotel in Melbourne CBD, and by jingo, one news guy wasn't impressed.
The stupidity of letting their children come into something like this and run the risks which they are all running must be hitting home very hard at this time. Motorcycle escorts are there, trying to force their way through the crowd. The front police car doesn't seem to have any chance of getting any further than this. Police are trying to force their way hard, and a motorcycle escort nearly went under the rear wheels of that back car.
The crush of the crowd was almost more than police could handle. Around 350 people were injured trying to get up close to the Beatles.
That's a great one. How on earth did they get up there? I told you earlier in our telecast that 2 were found on the roof of the Southern Cross Hotel, 14 stories high this morning.
Even after the boys were safely delivered to the hotel via the back door, the crowd wouldn't budge.
We want the Beatles, they start to chant. Listen to this. A hardcore of fans are still waiting in front of the hotel and calling on the Beatles to appear.
And here they are, here comes the Beatles! Here they come, you can't hear them above the shrieks of the crowd. This is the moment they've all been waiting for. Here come the Beatles. And you can hear the cheers there for the Beatles. We're approaching our microphone now. Here they are, arrived in Australia. Here are the Beatles! Well, you've just seen the Beatles here at the Southern Cross.
And there they go, the fabulous Beatle group on their way inside after greeting the crowd, and you can see they've just gone completely out of their minds.
Hysteria has really taken hold of the crowd now. They've seen their idols, and we're running along after the Beatles to try and catch them now. I don't think we'll be in the race here. We've got to be a mile sprinter. That's as far as we can go. We couldn't catch up to them. They were too fast for us.
As all this madness was playing out, just down the road, on the outskirts of Melbourne City, preparations were underway for Nine's historic live TV broadcast of the Beatles in Australia at legendary rock venue Festival Hall. This stage had been walked on, shredded on, screamed on, crooned on, moshed on, and serenaded on by some of the music industry's biggest and most enduring acts. Now, I guess you're wondering, what was it really like to see the Beatles play Festival Hall?
I just turned 17.
I wanted to see them first.
I won the tickets.
I was only 13.
I was here, Festival Hall.
I was so excited, ecstatic actually. They were just such a phenomenon. They just burst onto the scene and suddenly there was, and everybody was in love with them.
Melbourne was alive. Just knowing the Beatles were in town, I remember going up to the Southern Cross and watching them leave the underground car park in their Rolls Royce. I'm besotted by the Beatles.
You see them in a picture and you can imagine, you hear them on at the time, a record, but to actually have that right in front of you and coming out was totally different. It was beautiful.
The buzz in the room was electric, yeah.
It was just buzzing, it was just very, very exciting for everybody, particularly for a 17-year-old girl.
It's clear that the night left its mark on these guys, but how did the Beatles sound?
I was aware the Beatles were on stage. I could see them, John and Paul together, and I could see Ringo. That was all awesome, but I couldn't hear their voices.
It was hard to hear them because of the screaming.
All we did was scream.
Why couldn't they stop them screaming for half an hour or something?
Even the biggest band in the world couldn't compete with the screams of 5,000 Beatlemaniacs.
This number...
It was amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Channel 9 coughed up a then record-breaking £14,000, equivalent to $400,000 in today's money, to broadcast the Melbourne show for the rest of the country.
And don't you move, because right after the break, we're going to bring you the Beatles live in Oz, remastered, including some of the support acts who tried their best to warm up the crowd.
On the day of the big broadcast, fans who couldn't get their tickets still camped outside the group's hotel. John, Paul and Ringo got their hair cut and George went for a drive in the Dandenongs. But by late afternoon, they were spruced up and on their way to Festival Hall.
Well, half a century after it was originally recorded, it's been remastered. It's better than ever, but before you watch the main event, you have to watch the support acts.
1, 2, 3 of them, in fact. There were 5,000 screaming fans there for a night they would remember for the rest of their lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sounds Incorporated.
First up, brace yourselves for the synchronized saxophone stylings of British six-piece outfit Sounds Incorporated. They had met the Beatles when they were also slogging it out in the dingy bars of Hamburg, Germany. Sounds Incorporated became the Beatles' main support act on this world tour. They were top musos, and frankly, no one else was busting moves like this on the night.
Oh, yeah, well, now this is the last time. So let's really hear you this
Yep, that's a drum solo. A really, really long drum solo. A highly technical, perfectly executed rock and roll drum solo that went for 3.5 minutes. Which I bet played really well to 5,000 teenage girls who had only one thing on their minds.
And then when the first groups were on, we didn't really take any notice of them. All we were really waiting for was the Beatles. That's all we were waiting for.
And they'd have to wait a bit longer yet Next up, greasy-haired Kiwi rocker Johnny Devlin. He felt pretty old school compared to the fresher look and sound of the Beatles. He was a big star in his native New Zealand and was normally pulling around $600 a week for his pub gigs, but he signed on with the Beatles for a measly $250 a week for the musical opportunity of a lifetime. He also knew why people were really there.
I've been very, very fortunate in that I've met the Beatles, and I'd like to tell you that they're four very, very fabulous guys. You're going to like them very much.
In the county jail, when Bounds there, they began to wail. Bounds jumping and the jump began to swing. Should have heard a knocked out chair, but sing like everybody, let's rock. Oh yeah, everybody in Old South Block gonna dance to the jailhouse rock. Spider Murphy played his and the saxophone. George blowing on the slide trombone. Mama Gorgon and an old crash boom band. The rhythm section was a purple gang. Everybody in Old South Block gonna dance to the jailhouse rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, a Victoria welcome to Victoria boy, Mr. Johnny Chester.
And finally, there was 23-year-old Aussie heartthrob Johnny Chester. Johnny was a huge pop icon at the time, with a number of top 10 hits under his belt, but this sort of crowd was next level.
Well, you don't like crazy music, you don't like rocket band. You just wanna go to a movie show, sit there holding hands, you're so sweet. Let me clap your hands. I said,
I don't remember Johnny Chester. It was just a lot of... No one was interested. They just wanted to see the Beatles.
Okay, let's get this show on the road. This is what everyone's been waiting for. Here are the Beatles, as you've never seen them before, remastered in a live performance for the ages.
Isn't this the most exciting evening of your lives? Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest attraction in the whole world, the Beatles!
Thank you very much, folks. Thank you. Thank you very much, and good evening. How are you? All right? Good. Well, we'd like to carry on now with a song which we recorded not very long ago. The song is called All My Loving. Close your eyes and I can see. Remember, I'll always be true. And then while I'm away, I'll write home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. I'll pretend that I'm kissing the lips I'm missing, and hope that my dreams will come true. All my loving, all my loving, darling, I'll be true. all my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. All my loving, all my loving, all my loving I will send to you. Thank you very much, folks.
Next on For One Night Only.
This is the oil the lively cars like. Shell X100 multigrade oil.
Remember, this is how Australia saw the broadcast back in 1964. There was nothing slick about the ads, and nobody knew just how historic this broadcast would be. Now, back to the remastered Beatles live.
I've got something to say that might cause you pain, but that you talking to that boy again, I'm gonna let you down and leave you flat. Because I told you before, oh, you can't do that. It's the second time I caught you talking to him. Do I have to tell you one more time? Think it's a sin. I'm gonna let you down, let you down, leave you flat. Gonna let you down and leave you flat. Because I told you before, oh, you can't do that. Everybody's green, 'cause I'm the one who won your love. But if they see you're talking that way, they laugh in my face. So please listen to me, you wanna stay mine. I can't help my feelings, I go out of my mind. I'm gonna let you down, leave you flat. Gonna let you down and leave you flat. Because I told you before, oh, you can't do that. 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 Everybody's green, 'cause I'm the one who won your love. But if they see you talking that way, they laugh in my face. So please listen to me if you wanna stay mine. I can't help my feelings, I go out of my mind. I'm gonna let you down, leave you flat. Gonna let you down and leave you flat. Because I told you before, oh, you can't do that.
It's worth noting that, unlike today's concerts, this was raw and primitive stuff. No PA for the band to hear themselves, amps turned up to 11, no special effects or lighting. Everything you hear, other than the screaming girls, is just these four blokes from Liverpool.
It's called She Loves You. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah. You think you've lost your love? Well, I saw her yesterday. It's you she's thinking of, and she told me what to say. She said she loved you. You know that can't be bad. but she loves you, and you know that can't be right. But she loves you, and you know you should be glad. Loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Love like that, you know you should be glad. With a love like that, you know you should be glad. With a love like that, you know you should be glad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. It's very nice for all of us to have back with us now Ringo.
Well, take it up, baby, now. Take it up, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, come on, baby, now. Come on, baby. Come on and work it on out. Work it on out. Well, work it on out. You know you look so good. So good. You know you got me going now. Me going. Just like I knew you would. Like I knew you would. Well, take it, baby, now. Take it up, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, come on, baby, now. Come on, baby. Come on and work it on out. Work it on out. Well, you twist it, girl. You know you twist so fine. So fine. Come on and twist a little closer now. Twist a little closer. Let me know that you're mine. Let me know you're mine. Shake it up, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, come on, baby. Now, come on, baby. Come on and work it on out. Work it on out. Well, you twist a little girl. Twist a little girl. You know you twist so fine. Twist so fine. Come on and twist a little closer now. Twist a little closer. And let me know that you're mine. Let me know you're mine. Well, take it, baby. Well, take it, baby. Now. Take it up, baby. Well, take it, baby. Now. Take it up, baby.
Next on the Beatles Remastered.
In the next song, we'd like you to help us out. Will you help us?
Welcome back. On this tour, the Beatles' set list would be about 10 or 12 songs. Most of them Lennon and McCartney #1 hits like I Saw Her Standing There, a song they had fine-tuned in Liverpool's Cavern Club long before they became the biggest band in the world.
along. We'd like you to help us out. Will you help us? Oh, golly, good. It's that easy. All you got to do is sort of clap your hands. Or if you don't want to clap your hands, sort of stamp your feet on the floor. Anyway, join in, you know, do what you feel like. The number's called Can't Buy Me Love. I can't buy me love. Can't buy me love. I'll buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if I make you feel alright. I'll get you anything, my friend, if it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I don't get too much for money. Money can't buy me love. I give you all I've got to give if it's in you love me true. I may not have a lot to give, but I got I'll give to you. 'Cause I don't get too much for money. Money can't buy me love. Can't buy me love. Everybody told me so. Can't buy me love. No, 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 no. Say you don't need no diamond ring, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of thing that money just can't buy. 'Cause I don't get too much for money. Money can't buy me love. Wow! Indeed. Well, the next number will have to be our last number for tonight. So, yes? Oh, yes. So, before we go, we'd like to say to all of you here tonight, and to everybody who's sort of come along to see us on this tour, we'd like to say thank you all very much for coming along. It was lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, we'll see you, and this is this song, an old record, but it's a new recording for us. We'd like to finish off with Little Richard's Long Tall Sally. I'm gonna tell that man out of the job, you have to miss it, but it's got a lot of fun, baby. Yeah, now, baby. Oh, baby. Some funny night, yeah. I saw a good time. Baby, yeah, now, baby.
Up next, an emotional farewell to four guys who gave so much to pop history. Even though the Beatles show at Festival Hall is one of our country's great bits of rock and roll history, the band were ultimately only on stage for around 20 minutes.
I find it quite incredible and amazing. Oh, getting all choked up. It was amazing. Yeah.
To me, it was just the youth having a voice at that time.
That was a really special time in the history of music, and it was definitely a time of change.
Thinking back now, I feel very lucky and very privileged that I actually got to see the Beatles. It was the best thing in our life in those days. That was it.
That it was just four guys, a handful of songs.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you.
At the end of the night, here they are, the faces of Australia's next generation, the baby boomers, emptying out of Festival Hall, full of hope for the rest of the 60s and unprecedented cultural change that lies ahead. Aussie fans were sure the Beatles would be back, sometime.
The manager, Brian Epstein, told a National Press Club luncheon today that he hoped he would be able to return to Australia with the Beatles if they could maintain their present popularity here.
Once there was a way to get back.